Welcome back to the OPL Week 2, day number 1, of course, brought to you by Hungry Jacks. We just saw a sick 1v1.
Was it sick?
Out of the Armor Titan and Carbon. I thought it was actually, I love that video. I'm not going to lie, I thought it was entertaining. Also, Swiper, have you been living under a rock? All Carbon does is play Super Smash Bros. And Rivet in League of Legends. That's all he does at the moment.
Also, Carbon basically won that. And the Armored Titan that never gives up lived because he's level 6, level up. The last tick of Ignite was coming through and he's running back behind his turret like, oh no, I'm dead. And a minion just dies. And he's like, whoop, get a bit of health and he's chilling. I'm like, oh, come on. He should win that one convincingly. Come on, Dos. What are you doing, mate?
Yeah, potentially. Of course, League of Legends is a team game. It's not just that individual lineup. We're going to see the second best of 3 today as Avant Gaming will play against Chiefs. I'm laughing too much.
You said take off. You're too used to the Bombers.
Bombers, yeah.
The Bombers puns are coming out.
No, it's destroyed my casting career. Avant versus the Chiefs. Two very hyped up teams, actually, both having relatively good pickups in the offseason, one of which was the jungle position.
Yeah, definitely. Only versus Babip here. Week 1, only had a decent performance, I guess. But Babip is the one I want to talk about. He did get bullied around by the sub of Direwolves, Prayless in the jungle. Not a great performance coming in. Week 1 nerves, you can attribute it to that, but a lot of people have been saying only fairly passive jungler, not the guy to punish him in this matchup. Did come back from Korea though. We saw him doing a lot of invades week 1, but is it enough to be able to punish Babip in this matchup?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? And does Babip go back to something that's a little bit more solo queue-esque and a little bit more farm heavy? Because both of these junglers, known for Nidalee, I mean, arguably only also known for Kayn.
Yes! Look at the picture. Sorry to cut you off, but Babip's like, I choose you, and Only's just about to kick him in the face. Oh, absolutely
what do I say to that?
Absolutely stellar.
I like the poses.
Oh, look at the KDA difference.
Yeah, I mean, Only had a very good week 1. In fact, Avant as an overall whole looked very clean week 1. But I do want to talk about their jungle style because Only had a period where he was playing things like Gragas and very early ganking bottom lane when he was on the TM lineup. However, then also went back to like playing things like Kayn and just trying to run away with games.
Yeah, but I mean, can you attribute that to Only, or do you attribute it to the team as a whole? Because they were struggling to pick up wins, and he's like, look, Kayn, new champion, I can play this. Do we just try and cheese a win out of it? So I don't know if it's entirely fair to like pin those games on him. Like, oh, you played Kayn, it wasn't successful. But like, if the team is grasping at straws and you're the one that bites the bullet, then so be it.
And then at the end of the day, I mean, we said that Prayless had a very good matchup against Babip last week. Chiefs were also playing with the sub in Fantix. Can all of that blame really be placed at Babip's feet, or like was it?
No, like I'm not blaming the Chiefs' loss on Babip at all. I think Swiper had a pretty rough game too on Camille. They were banking on that Shen Camille combo, and they just couldn't pull it off. You mentioned the sub in Fantix, and it's pretty interesting because these 2 weeks basically, we've had the Bombers play twice, and they've had like 3-2 sub sort of thing. But Fantix is a sub, but he's just come in and it's been like, I'm just balling. I'm just playing Kog'Maw, flashing over like knockups, and I'm just killing your whole team. He's the guy that's coming in that just doesn't care, doesn't even play the role he's subbing into.
Yeah, I don't know if it's really impressive if a coach can come in, like play mid lane, arguably as good as anyone in the league, and now shows he plays 80 carry as good as anyone in the league.
I'm impressed.
I'm impressed by it, but like, I feel like coaches, I don't know how I feel about it. I'm saying Fantix should still be playing for those at the home. That I just think he's way too good to be a coach at this point, but also is a very good coach as well. But we'll be playing this week, however. Let's throw it over to Laura and Carbon, who's alongside at the Analyst Hangout.
Thanks, Jake. Yes, we're back. Carbon couldn't quite pull out the win against Swiper. What happened?
Imagine getting flamed by that spud on the desk. I can't play anything 1v1. Last time I saw him play a 1v1, he picked Leona into Caitlyn, got railed. Got absolutely railed. I guarantee you if I ever played Bryce 1v1, it would not even be close.
Is that a challenge?
I actually would pound him into the ground.
Can we get this to happen?
No, you couldn't film it. It'd be too rough. We couldn't broadcast that.
All right, well, now we have Avant going up against the Chiefs. What's your prediction for this series?
I think this will be a good one. It's my match of the round. I think AV coming off a pretty hot week last week. I thought Chiefs close loss last week to Direwolves, who are obviously a very good side, champions from last year. So I think it'll be a close one. I've got Chiefs, I think, winning 2-1. But I think, again, Leo's he's got to step up today if they want to win.
I think both teams are looking pretty good from what we've seen in the first week. Going to give it 2-1 to the Chiefs as well. But remember, if you'd like to make your own predictions at home, head on over to opltips.com.au. We've got $25, $50 and $100 Hungry Jacks vouchers if you place in the top 150 and 25 tippers at the end of the split. We've also got XP and RP prizes up for grabs. But for more information, make sure you head on over to our website at opltips.com.au. Thanks again for your prediction, Carbon. But to jump
My
into
pleasure.
this first game, let's hand it back to your
Anytime.
casters.
Thanks so much. So both of them going for the Chiefs in this week's head-to-head. It is going to be the game of the week. I do want to touch on the fact that AV looked incredibly clean last week, and that is something that you don't necessarily attribute to a new team.
Before we touch on that, I do just want to note that Leona beats Caitlin in the 1v1 at the time. You don't need to win CS, you just win the all-in. You're sitting there looking at your notes, and I'm just sitting here seething that like Tim's just flaming me, and I'm like, no, that was a good choice.
You have no
I
proof
messed it
of
up
it because
I
Rusty
ruined
tried
it,
to like. I remember it like.
he built the wrong thing.
Rusty,
I built AD, he built AP.
Yeah, Rusty was like, "Oh yeah, I agree with Bryce. Watch, I'll beat Yamato Cannon," and both of the Caitlins just won.
Mine was a lot closer than Rusty's, and I was the pro player at the time, and he's the washed-up caster. So how does his invalidate mine?
Because I'm just saying, it's
logic.
not like it's a sample size of 1. It's a sample size of 2, and both of you lost. The other thing I want to point out is that even if it's better, if it's like very hard to execute, maybe you should just take the simple matchup. You're a support player, Bryce. You don't necessarily have...
So I picked a support. What do you mean? That's my best option.
All right. Yeah, let's go to the lineups and bring them up onto your screen. It's going to be Avant Gaming. Pabu is their top laner. Only is their jungler. Frey, their new mid laner. And the staples of Blinky and Jake down in that bottom lane. Brucey will be their coach. And across against them will be Bryce's old lineup in the Chiefs Esports Club. The big Armored Titan. Big Swips up there in the top lane. It's going to be Babip, their jungler. Ryoma, their mid laner. Fantix is their coach as well as their AD carry this week. And it's going to be Destiny, their support.
AV rocking the triple-double. They've got double Cogmore, double Tahm Kench, and double Jarvan in the books now. See if they pick up the same composition going into week 2.
Also, I believe the only team in week 1 that went to all 3 games, so arguably more practiced on the current patch by a game.
Hey, we're nitpicking.
Yeah, there
I
we
like
go.
it.
Yeah,
I like
I
it.
really like doing stuff like that. But I do want to talk about it because AV, 2 very clean games, but played against the Bombers, who we've seen now be 2-0'd twice. Chiefs played against the defending champions in Direwolves, so very hard to tell the power levels of these teams.
And I mean, the storyline coming out of the AV game is Pabu. He won them both games. It's not like Blinky and Jake were losing the bot side or Frey was losing, but Pabu was the winning factor in those matchups. He was bullying around a sub in Artiferns. So I'm interested to see in this matchup. I did mention Swiper had a pretty decent game 1 and then a poor game 3, I think, on the Camille, and couldn't execute there. So does Pabu, when he's up against not a substitute player for the Bombers, but the rock in the top, big Swips, a player who's he's not gonna curb stomp your top laner, but he's not gonna lose very hard. He's very solid, very consistent player. So
is that a problem with this Chiefs roster? The fact that Babip is kind of, in my opinion, a farm-heavy jungler. Ryoma plays very good in laning phase. In fact, we saw him 2v1 multiple times, so no question about his laning ability. But Raze and Destiny, to me, seem like a team fighting / macro bottom lane. And then Swiper in the top lane is certainly a team fighting / macro top laner as well. Are they just going to leave it to team fighting every time, this squad?
I mean, they do have that wildcard in Ryoma you mentioned. Like, he is a very good laner, so can Babip play through that? We've seen teams historically, Spooks and Swift have come to mind, mid-duo, 2v2. They've won a lot of games through that style, so they could play through that. But in saying that also, you haven't seen Raze this split. We've seen Fantix 2 games so far, so we don't actually know. You saw Raze with me last split, and we were like a team fighting, like 80 carry support combo.
Mate, you were the most volatile support in the history of League of Legends, I think. You either got first blooded or first blooded people majority of your game.
But my point is, you haven't seen Raze with Destiny, so like potentially that's more of a reflection on how I play and not on Quinn. Because you don't know how he's going to play this split, and I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, that is super interesting. We did see him, a small sample size when he was a rookie on the Direwolves, was slightly more aggressive, but Direwolves as a team were, let's fly through the bands because we're already into picks. Cassiopeia, Talia, as well as Zoe. I hope you've been practicing your Talia pronouncement, Bryce.
Talia.
Kog'Maw, Callista, Malzahar. Picks already. Galio, Jarvan, Ezreal versus Ornn, Braum, and Azir.
Yep. So the jungler's potentially going to be pinched away for the Chiefs here. Avant maybe looking at that option, but we do see the Ornn Braum combo. The Galio picked away first pick by Avant, obviously, and we have seen Braum just be such a hard counter to Ornn. Obviously, it's support versus top, but stylistically with that Ram coming through, he just eats that one, doesn't do anything. So they take that away. Very good support in the Braum. Italy. Maybe.
And you know, I like the fact that they banned away Cassiopeia and Talia because they were 2 champions at Galio historically. Didn't do all that well against. Persistent damage kind of mucks him around.
Yeah, not to mention they're the 2 champions that Ryoma played last week versus the Direwolves.
Yep.
2 very good Cassiopeia games and then a up and down Talia game.
And then Taric, as well as Camille, taken off the board. And that will be Nidalee and Kaz expand away. So as you said, Jungle Pinch versus top lane support pinch. Not really a pinch if you ban one of each, is it?
Yep.
Stretch there.
Just flexing the bands around there. Likely we'll see a Ali or a Time Kench or something
Jake's
coming
kind
out.
of nodding his head here.
He's got something planned.
Cast your mind back to Origin, Bryce,
Okay.
where my boys were able to take down your boys. But on a different note, Jake kind of emerged as a Taric player.
Yeah.
Wasn't really known for it before that game. Now, very good into Braum because it goes through the shield.
Yep.
Has been respect banned away.
He was 100% the best Taric on the server at that time. Absolutely. He was one of the few that was playing it, but he just grinded it out game after game. He's one of those players that when he decides he wants to play a champion, he'll just play 30 solo queue games of that at a time. That's exactly what he did. Brought it into Origin. Great performance there.
Taric Urgot was unstoppable in that bottom lane. Sejuani as well as Na, and potentially the Shen picked up.
And interestingly, they do pinch the jungle pool, but they don't pinch what we expect. They don't get rid of the power picks and the Sejuani. We have seen a lot of Zac. They do opt in for the Nidalee Kha'Zix, so they don't want to give Babip his style, right? They're banning away these tanks. Sorry, not banning away the tanks because they're like, look, they're good, but you're not good on them. So we're banning away the wildcard he picks in there, so he has to opt into it.
So the gauntlet has been thrown. At the same time, I want to talk about Shen because it's normally seen as a counter to top lane. However, in this situation, is very good into Braum.
Yep, 100% there. Can go through the shield once again, obviously. But I think it just speaks to the top lane matchup. In terms
Ruins
of
the passive stacks as well.
Yep,
As soon
the
as you get to
dodge
3 stacks, all of a sudden you just drop down the dodge field.
Yep. If he just sits that on top of Blinky and then ulties to the top lane, helps out both 2-for-1 deal. Got a bit of a combo there, but
Drags the sword across the back.
that's the thing I do want to talk about, though, is the Na into Ornn is a good matchup. Mind you, the Braum is on Chief's side, so they don't have that there, but with the Shen, that's already a matchup that does favor the Na. Pabu's already shown that he can do that last week. Can he do it against Swiper with the help of Jake as well?
Yeah, for sure. Certainly something to track. And I'm really interested to now watch this Avant Gaming lineup against what we expect to be a top-tier team within the OPL, because this is a big question. Last year, I think 5th and 5th were where AV finished. They were a very good 5th-place team at that, however. Close to seeing in both of those best-of-5s. However, without Triple, now bringing in a more dynamic top side of the map, you have to say Pabu only as well as Frey. Did they get better, or is this something that needs time?
And I think it is something that needs time, but this will be the real test because Bombers, obviously, clean games there, you said 2-0. With 3 subs, not much of a test there, but Chiefs, a whole different beast here. We see Fantix and Destiny, the bot lane duo on your screens. And this is more of a check. Only just adjusting this monitor. Last minute setup changes there.
Fun fact for you, Bryce and I play games all the time, and you are real quick at changing your settings from being a pro player, aren't you?
Yeah, you have to do it a lot. Go to any single tournament, you play at the Riot offices here in Sydney, and then you go overseas, play it. You just have to. And I'm someone that's real pedantic about my settings. If it's not perfectly right, I'm angry.
Yeah, no 60 hertz monitors for Bryce. Trust me,
144.
I'm in a lot of trouble. We do have one of the coaches standing alongside with Laura.
Thanks, guys. I'm here once again with Brucey. Today, Avant are going up against the Chiefs that are widely considered to be in the top 3 of the ladder. How's the team's mindset heading into this match?
Yeah, we're pretty good. We've put in a lot of work this week, and we think we've read the meta pretty well, and we know we're confident in our practice, and we think that it'll help us clinch the win today.
With that in mind, what does the team have to do in this game to take the win?
So we've picked Galio. We put a lot of priority on that. We think he's fantastic right now with his ulti. We've picked a side laner, so hopefully we can get around the map and put some pressure on it.
And lastly, are you sad that this is going to be the last week you're a coach for Avant? Have you been enjoying it?
I've been enjoying it, but hopefully it is the last time I'm called up to coach. It's been a great experience, interesting to be on this side of things, but yeah, all good things must come to an end.
Yes, they may. Best of luck with this series, and thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
The man, the myth, the legend. Hopefully we can keep him involved in the broadcast.
Give him an interview anyway. It doesn't. Stop calling it the coach's interview. Let's get the coach's interview, and then game 3 we get the Brucey interview.
Nah, just pull him onto the desk. Trycast with Brucey. I'll do it. I'll be down. As we see, pushing lanes in mid and bot one more time. You'd expect Na to be able to push him on though, surely.
Yep, 100%, and that is what is happening right now. Swiper has opted in for the spellbook. He has the ignite. Once again, we see that for the second time today in this specific matchup there. Gives him a bit more kill pressure so he can not just sit there and have to cop a beating.
Also means that you kind of have to respect the Sejuani a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, CC and stuff like that is awesome when 2 tanks come into your lane, but at some point you do need to make the health bar hit 0. So Ignite obviously going to help with that. And Frey, even though the priority was placed on the Azir, as stated in the coach's interview by Brucey, being shoved in.
Yeah,
right now.
well, That's kind of what you expect in this matchup, though. Azir has a much easier time pushing in the wave there, and Galio isn't picked so he can push in the lane. So we do see.
Sorry, I was just getting
right
my
now.
cup of soup. I'm a game, like, second set, first game, cup of soup connoisseur. And Bryce has just stopped talking, looked dead at me as I'm trying to get my cup of soup in.
I can still talk. We can talk.
Yeah, we can talk.
Yeah,
I'm still here.
Let's have a talk. Only in the top side. Brucey did mention the Galio combo, so obviously a lot of first pick priority placed on that one, but they do have the Jarvan as well, which is the big thing. We have seen Galio Rakan, Galio Jarvan be the best two combinations there. Gives him access to the backline.
Certainly does, and we see Swiper doing the right thing here, actually just sitting right off the creep wave. Saw that only was on his Krug camp. We see at the same time Babip going for some counter invading on the bottom side of the map. We'll be able to take 2 camps to the 1, so we'll be 2 full camps up if this is successful. If he gets caught out, he will die. Just gets one of them. That's still worth. I mean, the camp will go on cooldown because Jake will take that. Smaller, what are they? Rockmen? Krugs, I think. Yep.
Golems.
Golems?
Like Krug, yeah, little rock goblins. We'll call them rock goblins. I like that.
You like
Hell
the word
yeah.
goblin, don't you?
Rock goblin. That's
Ooh, nice.
Dodge field as well.
Yeah. Arguably waste of the dodge field. I see that a lot. Like, the temptation when you hit an ability is to just hit your whole keyboard. I think that dodge field is one of those spells that is sometimes wildly misused in that situation.
But if you land the taunt on both, Destiny's autos do apply the passive. So
Yeah,
you're taunting
true.
them, so they're going to hit you. So like he applies the dodge field, so he does have that that ease of walking away there.
All right, sold. I'll give that one to you.
Hunter's Potion onto Babip here. Sejuani, a very low health clearer, as we saw before when Jake just forced him off the camp. And
I didn't see whether Ryoma had gone summon Airy. Because I saw an Airy flying around in the mid lane, I think. See right now that Babip is in behind the duo lane of Avant. See whether they can escape this gank. Tick over to level 4.
Yeah.
Flash in, taunt away. Dodge
Nice
field
dodge
down.
field.
However, will get stunned up.
Double
The
stun.
passives are layered. And Fantix flash forward, picks up first blood. No, Destiny will get it, and Fantix will jump out.
Just an easy gank there out of the Chiefs. A bit of a trade to the top side. Swiper's going in, but
Swiper
they just
won it.
walk in. Double stuns. Brawn passive, Sed's stun as well. Layering those to perfection there. Ignite comes through. Destiny picks up the kill.
Yeah, and that was the first time we really saw Sejuani come back into pro play, and I believe it was by Samsung at the time over in the LCK. They played it a lot with Braum, just because of exactly what you were talking about. You need melee attacks on Sejuani to be able to proc that passive, and Braum, with the slow from the Q, just lends itself to the layered CC so well.
It just allows you to stack it super easy. Because whilst they are stunned, you can just proc the second one and time it very easily there as top matchup is entirely going as expected right now. Probably looking for something, but just getting a bit of a chunk.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, Ornn's one of those champions, kind of just a fridge in the top lane, goes absolutely nowhere.
Fridge.
However, now Meganar and level 6 flash available. They can get in here and go for it. They stun him into the wall. Unstoppable, however.
Oh.
Swiper, massive outplay, and will be able to take Parbu very low. However, Ultimate also coming across. I feel like 3 is too much, and Swiper gets taken down.
He plays it well, but unfortunately 3 versus 1 can't do a whole lot. He burnt his flash there, so he can't get out of the Galio ulti. Comes through. Jake just decides he
I
wants
love this.
a
Just
few creeps in the mid lane.
he's soaking experience right
Yeah.
now under turret.
He just wants to get to 6 real quick. He's like, look, if I'm in bot lane, I'm sharing with you, Miles. I'm sharing with you, Blinky. I don't want that. Give me the solo creeps. Give me the solo XP and get me out of this lane.
However, even though it took, a couple of ultis, a couple of summoner spells coming out from the Avant lineup, you have to say that this is something the Chiefs weren't able to do last week, and that is get their split pushing threat ahead in the early game. Whatever it takes, this composition really relies on Parbu being bigger than Swiper.
Yep.
Otherwise, the Shen pick, not going to add as much in team fights, and across the board, it's just so hard to break Azir.
And that's 1 from 1. That's their first window with the Galio ulti, and it has been successful. 3-man dive. Swiper burns both summoners, so he couldn't even TP back to the wave there. So the wave is slow pushing into Parbu right now. And he will be able to catch the one. Will have the pressure in this matchup. 10 CS up right now with that kill. Has the phage as well.
And the wave's pushing into him. So
Yep.
really, Parbu can choose to push this out if he would like. Also, he can let it push in and see if he can just get some harass down. Instead, keeps it fairly neutral. Of course, Ornn going to get nerfed next patch. That unstoppable.
Yeah. I don't like that.
Yeah, you're not a fan. I know. I just brought it up to kind of
nerf the numbers, but that's a cool mechanic.
I mean, the way it was executed then from Swiper shows exactly why it is a cool mechanic.
If you time it perfectly, it just gives you so much value.
He nearly bought him a kill there, and you can see that he does get that wave into the turret, so good hard reset achieved from Swiper. First blue buff transfer is going to come across for both. Argue that that's a massive deal for the Azir here.
I mean, massive deal for the Galio already. Yeah, he picked up that kill on the top side, and he is struggling early, as we saw. The Azir has a much easier time pushing him in, so having access to that blue means he can just spam those Qs on the wave. He can push it out and use his windows with his ultis, coming up fairly soon. Jake, almost level 6, you have to assume here. Level 5, Blinky's level 6, so they will have that Shen ulti to fly around the map.
And it appears there's 3 levels of Galio gameplay. We saw the full AP Galio. We talked about the adaptive helm. This seems to be somewhere in the middle. Going towards an Abyssal Mask as his first
mixed
item.
bag.
Yeah. He's struggling, but he's just not struggling enough to build pure tank.
Is he even struggling at this point? He's even in CS, arguably up because he's about to pick up a few, and he's already got a gank off successfully in the side lane. So in terms of the counter pick in the Azir, mind you, Azir very good scaling, so much similar to the Corki, we expect it to do a lot more later as well.
Continue ganking topside. You can see that the Ram comes out. This is going to be Galio one more time, layering the CC. Taunt comes out. Do they give it back over to Pabu? No, Frey takes a second one. So Swiper being bullied right now, and Frey really being the main benefactor.
And this is exactly what they need. This is exactly what they need. Swiper is receiving no help on the top side here. Ryoma whacking away the mid turret, but Bip has just been floating around the bot side of the map. He's picking up the camps there. He's invading the bot side jungle, but at this stage it just doesn't even matter. He's down in CS, only is up in CS, and has influenced both the side lanes. He did get that early gank in the bot lane, but it hasn't amounted to too much there. About a 15 CS lead onto Fantix.
Yeah, so right now it's going to be Fantix, who is still down in gold due to that first turret going over, versus massive gold lanes in both solo lanes right now for AV. And you can see Blinky and Jake. I mean, I love them as a duo lane. They back away. You can see that Ryoma still wants it, still gets both of them, and that will be a double kill potentially being picked up right now. But you can see everyone else is coming in, and they stall them for long enough. You can see Ultimate coming across, and maybe they've tried to save a lane. Potentially Babib going to fall down as well. Stopwatch used, Destiny. Also, how many stopwatches are there in this game? They're looking to continue to juggle turret aggro. Frey flashes backwards. Another stopwatch goes off. When will it end? And you can see in the end, I think it's what, 3 or 4 members fall down?
And Chiefs have 5 members between the turrets of AV. Unfortunately, Pabu TP's in, but he's exhausted on the mini now. He can't build up that rage bar. He can't get access to the ulti. That would have been a huge turning point if he did, but Bip, he gets away.
Big tempo lead right now, however, for Pabu. He's 2 levels up, and you can see that the recall is going to come out of Swiper. Actually, he cancels it. With Jarvan in this lane, I mean, even though they just gave up 3 kills for absolutely nothing, this could potentially turn into a death and a turret.
Swiper is opting into the stay here, and Babip's on the top side of the map looking for his
Flash available, ultimate available. Swiper, you're in big trouble. Ulti into the wall, actually unstoppable again. Swiper uses that Q, able to get out of reach, knocks it back, but that just looks like it's not going to be enough. Swiper is playing these ganks nearly as well as you can, and still just cannot buy a break.
You can see the man on the bottom side of your screen now rubbing his forehead, not happy. There's just nothing he can do here. No flash. He plays the gank very well, but 0, 3, and 1 just constantly getting died.
I mean, very well is an understatement. There is nothing else he can do there. He lands every ability that he can to try and avoid that.
The one caveat, if I was to nitpick, was to throw the ulti at Jarvan. The Gnar was out of turret range when that Ram came through, so could have bought himself a little bit more time and bought himself a little bit more HP, but as you said, playing it very well. They did have that tempo advantage, and it was only going to be a small window. They had it then and there, but Chiefs just picked up a bunch of kills on the bot side, so they had the lead going into that. But they do use the window successfully again. This is week 2 of Pabu and Only being completely on the same page. This is what they've been doing. Last weekend we saw it, and this weekend, game 1, working a treat again.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you have to say that right now, this early in the season, that's already mission accomplished for Avant Gaming, because they've picked up a young top side of the map, and you can throw Frey into that mix twice with the Galio ultimate, has been able to get in there. So Blinky and Jake trying to just be a pressure absorb on the map, and the rest of the team looking to get big advantages.
And I mean, I'm going to talk about game 2 here, but you obviously have to think that this Galio is already a problem. The counter pick in Azir has not done anything, and the swiper dives coming through, Galio has just been integral to that, I think. As they are looking for the mid lane, the Rift Herald is popped. We'll take that one down. That's a free turret for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, generally, when you grab Rift Herald, it's one that you bank up for a while. This time, because it is mid lane that is low, they just use it straight away. So, in the end, Azir has picked up enough chip damage to get back pretty much the most important turret in the game, arguably.
It's Destiny's, he's hiding, but unfortunately, it was sitting around the corner from Pink Ward that the bit cleans out. They're looking for this blue buff. Can they get it?
They want the engage. You can see
smite.
that goes in. That's going to be smite away by Only, who has a level advantage. Unfair, you would have to say.
It's also unfair because Babib can't press his F button right now. It's on cooldown, so wouldn't have even been able to. Ryoma over the wall was trying to throw a few hits into it with the soldiers, but Pabu's just ignoring Swiper.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as he's mini, he's just whacking the turret.
Not really all that much Swiper can do. If he engages on him, gets a face full of boulders. You can see now that the Merc treads have been picked up. Looks like Pabu doesn't even really need assistance from Only and Frey.
And I mean, is this the strategy here? They've netted Pabu this lead. They've given him the resources so far in this game. Do they start throwing Galio at the other side of the map? And then if Pabu gets in trouble, they have the get out of jail free card with the Shen ulti.
Yeah, potentially could be the case. I mean, we see Shen already going back. He also picks himself up a pair of Merc treads. Across the board as we have a look at items. Zeal item completed for Fantix. Nash's Tooth right now for Ryoma. Abyssal Mask and, you know, Mana Mune done. Not yet Muramana.
An early Night's Vow coming out of the Jarvan Only.
Huh.
Fairly early, especially on an Ezreal. Someone you don't expect to need the Night's Vow. It's a fairly interesting choice, I think. Blinky 0, 1, and 0. Already behind Fantix at this point. If that was a Tristana or a Kog'Maw, I'm like, hell yeah, that's a great decision. That's keep him out of harm's way. He'll do a lot of damage scaling into this game. But Ezreal with the Night's Vow seems like it will be useful, no doubt, because it's just a flat damage reduction, but should be able to take care of himself much better than any other AD carry.
Yeah, and he's already got a bit of damage reduction there in what is going to be the Glacial Shroud, of course, going towards the Iceborne Gauntlet. So I agree with you. A little bit strange. We saw, you know, a little bit more tanky, but with a Black Cleaver coming out game number 1. And again, I mean, we said maybe they'll leave him alone. But AV not reading that playbook.
I mean, they're not losing anything on the other side of the map right now. Only's on the bot side because Dragon's spawning. Possibly an engage.
Caught out. You see they go over the wall, and here comes Frey. That's going to be ultimate flash, and all of a sudden Ryoma slides in, able to pick them up. Pabu, however, on the back side of this, will be able to come in first. Joins with some damage. Nice knock up there out of Big Swips. Jake was there with the Shen ultimate as well. And now the collapse out of Destiny and Fantix is just a little bit quicker. You can see Jake down there, but Blinky's still in the top lane. And Pabu, who has 3 kills, might just be shut down, as you said. Wrong side of the map. However, if he can continue to kite, if he can get the execute.
Oh,
actually,
TP.
He just TPs.
His teammates, someone was pinging him a path out of the base. They went up that walkway there, then to the left through the turrets. But yeah, interesting engage out of AV. They use everything onto Babip with Flash. So they blow the Galio, they blow the Jarvan ulti. They do have Pabu coming, but I think they were just saved by the fact that Jake had ulti. He got there before Chiefs bot lane, so they do go fairly even in that trade. But Chiefs pick up the turret, and Pabu has to burn his TP.
But one thing I love seeing out of a new team is even if it's a wrong call, which arguably that was, just go as 5. I mean, you could see everyone on the same page. Everyone used ultis. They really did commit there. They got the flash out of the jungler. Maybe not beneficial right now, but could be in the future. Chiefs, however, grabbed themselves a turret off the back end of that, as well as a Mountain Drake.
Not to mention, though, Blinking on the top side of the map just had free access to that wave. He was just chilling 1v0 in the top lane, so caught himself up a little bit in CS here. Does base, get the Iceborne Gauntlet. Scaling into the mid game. But double Earth Drake on the side of Chiefs. When you have a Tristana and a Nazir, that is an absolutely huge deal. Baron damage is going to be immense, already coming out of Azir without the mountains. And then you tack that on, and that's just real quick.
Yeah, especially when it is Ryoma's Azir. We've already seen that he's willing to be aggressive. Certainly will be willing to stick to that objective. Chiefs don't strike me as an indecisive team with people like Ryoma on it. Destiny also pretty clear when it comes to what he wants to do in League of Legends from experience. And you can see Fantix and Destiny kind of just with the buddy system right now, looking to counter jungle.
Yeah, that's the classic Braum strategy. You want a friend there to be able to shield them and jump around. We did see the gold briefly there, about a 2,000 gold lead on Pabu on the top lane matchup. 3-0-2 versus the 0-3-3 here. And we're out of Swiper and about a 1.5 on Ryoma.
Yeah, we're seeing Fromo picked up as a second item from Pabu. So using that gold lead, not to teamfight as we saw out of Tally, but instead to just continue to bully this 1v1, and I'd say that's definitely Pabu's MO. If anyone's ever watched his stream, he enjoys a good isolated top lane matchup.
Absolutely, but I mean, last week we did see him pick up when he had that absolutely enormous lead against the Maokai of Artiferns. He did go rando in second item because he's like, look, I'm going to bully you anyway. You've gone Righteous Glory. I'm just going to team fight. So this game, obviously opting in not to the same decision there, so switching it up, not being a one-track minded player there.
And how much do champions that can do that benefit a team? We've already seen Jarvan can go, you know, more AD, very tanky in this game. Things like you can go, I mean, last night we saw him with a Bloodthirster and a Blade of the Ruined King.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. I mean, this game, we're seeing him with a Frozen Mallet. Other games, we see him with Randuin. I mean, do you pick champions based on their flexibility often, or is it just strength?
I think flexibility and versatility is just absolutely huge. You see it in draft. Flex picks exist literally for that reason, because they give you that flexibility in the draft phase, and then even later in a game, like the Jarvan here, like the Gnar, being able to make those decisions on the fly. Look, if Pabu's behind here, he's like, look, guys, I'm going to build for team fight, and I'm still good. And now he's ahead, and he's like, look, I'm going to build to split push, and I'm going to be your huge pressure point on the side of AV. Like, that is incredibly valuable. In terms of counterplay, if your strategy going into a game is incredibly broadcast, you're like, look, we have a Kog'Maw bot side, and then we have the Gnar top side. Like, where do you think they're going to gank? They're going to leave the Kog'Maw on the island. They're going to go top. So it just makes the time of the enemy much easier in terms of they know what you're going to do. They know how to counterplay that. So being able to switch it up is huge.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be this game. We see another isolated turret going down for Pabu. On the other side of the map, Fantix now on 2 items, using Tristana's turret pushing ability to be able to take that down as well. So really a map that we have split in half. 1,000 gold, 20 minutes, absolutely nothing to speak of. But right now, Ryoma, Fantix, massive on the side of the Chiefs, and Pabu holds all of the gold, all of the card for Avant.
And is it going to be enough? The 2 versus 1, the Ryoma Fantix versus the Pabu. Can he do enough to match the 2 members of the Chiefs there? I'll find out shortly.
One thing I will say is that AV's lineup to me looks incredibly difficult to dive. You don't want to dive Shen, you don't want to dive Jarvan on the best of times. Galio also just don't want to dive in. So they can hold under turret. If Pabu wants to go for a crazy split push build for practically ever, and that's the call right now because he's got a dagger.
Yep, he's just going to go PD. Straight up, he's just going to go PD in the side lane. He's just going to whack away Swiper. That damage reduction is going to be huge for the base damage of the Ornn. Not going to be doing too much. So he's just hard out, straight up looking to punish Swiper in the side lane.
I mean, and this to me is almost now going into like mind game warfare. Swiper, as you heard, even in that 1v1 versus Carbon,
he just wants to TP spot.
Gets really nervous though sometimes. I mean, doesn't like to be bullied around in a laning phase. So I feel like if they are able to pull this off, there is a huge mental advantage right here for AV. At the same time, if this doesn't work, Swiper gets fired up. Maybe the tactic completely falls on his head game too. So that double-edged sword.
And I think coming into this season, the lineup of the Chiefs, the Rock in the Top Big Swips has been so vocal in that he is going to be the leader. On the 2017 lineup, you had Swiffer, you had Spooks, but he's the man for that job now, and this will be the test game, I think. This situation right here on the tank, he will still be useful later if he can get out of that rut, if he can do it, but this will be the test case for that right now.
Yeah, and Ornn kind of isn't, to me, isn't the team fight top laner. Even though he's got a big ram and stuff like that, you would argue that Maokai, things like Nautilus, even things like Cho'Gath with Flash Bite are honestly better team fighters than what Ornn is. Ornn is picked because he's a pretty good tank with good bullying. However, right now, Babip looking for an engage onto free fantasy footwork there.
Nice dodge. Saved him out of the stun there. But so, Destiny...
Yep, go.
He's opted in for a redemption. He doesn't go the tanky build. He already has the Ornn, who's very far behind. He already has the Sejuani, who will be tanky in those team fights, but he opts in for the redemption. We're talking about versatility. AV's engage is very broadcast. Jarvan's going to go in terms of a full 5v5. He's going to go in 100% EQ, ulti onto Fantix in the backline, ulti onto Azir, then the Galio is going to come over top. Redemption in this situation. The downside of this item is that it's on a 1.5 second delay. If a Zed gets on your AD carry, if you haven't cast it already, it's just not going to be useful. But because this engage is so broadcast, Destiny's like, hey, like I'm going to get super value out of this item. Great pick up there. And
I know that Destiny is a support that you think is incredibly intelligent when it comes to things like that. Chiefs now starting up the Baron. They have complete vision control of that area. AV going to be forced to face check, but one more time, this is going to be a Baron that is just too little too late. Chiefs pick it up for free, and Galio was cheating bottom lane. Now Big Swips teleports into the mid lane. The Ram will be streaming down the lane. Doesn't get the slow on anyone. However, knock up onto two people, both of the tanks. And you can see now the fight has really started. Meganar on Pabu doesn't choose to TP. Fantix jumping forward, and that is a one Chiefs team fight.
And this is the downside, that one slip up of AV, they did not check the Baron in time. They did not have the vision control around that. Chiefs get it for free. And now you think they're one pressure point only. Pabu in the side lane. Swipe is going to have a much easier time with the Baron creeps holding him off.
Yeah, certainly he's going to, and the wave clear is dead. Frey not going to be up and available, so it will be the Chiefs also breaking the base. Not only now will they arguably lose the split, just because of the Baron up minions, they'll also have super creeps to deal with in the mid lane.
And that was just the Earth Drakes coming up clutch there. You have the Azir already we talked about with those Mountain Drakes. They do that so quickly. AV just slightly behind the ball there. And they lose a Baron, and they lose complete control of the game.
Teleport
Pabu
coming out from Pabu. You can see the whole team is there. He's not a tanky man. He's going Blade of the Ruined King. Shen ulti as well on top of him. Will be going net Mega. That's a huge taunt. The Fantix pushes him away. However, shut down from Only. And now the chase will continue. Ryoma is split from the rest of the team. You can see he's trying to get the recall off. He is Baroned up. Actually, they do the do-si-do, Jake, and
he flashed.
Flashes away, looking to still pick up this kill. However, he's out of mana and will fall down. Blinky grabs that kill, so a good collapse coming out of AV.
And a huge TP coming out of Pabu there. 1v4 for a time, but he knows he's tanky enough. He knows he can get the items. I'm actually going for the Bork, not the PD here.
I like that because Swiper has now picked himself up, the Warmog. So Bork going to have a lot of value.
Shred that HP there, but you have to think. AV in this situation right now, yeah, they just picked up a few kills, but they didn't get a whole lot else. Chiefs have the map control, they still have the Baron, and they have the gold lead. AV are going to have windows few and far between when that Galio ulti is up, so did they just use it on a few kills that didn't net them all that much?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, on the flip side, is it the fact that they now can stall out 35 seconds of a Baron buff, get their waves in a better position, and then as soon as Baron buff is back down, Pabu goes back to work? Because we said that was the risk.
Yeah, and in terms of defending your base, losing an inhib to losing two inhibs isn't like an even scale. It doesn't just get a little bit harder, right? It gets exponentially harder every time you lose an inhib. One inhib, you can defend as 5. 2 inhibs with someone in the side lane, hugely difficult. So buying that time means they don't potentially lose another inhib, and that's a big loss for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it certainly is, and especially when it's a mid lane inhib. We talk about it a lot, but mid lane inhib is just, you know, a couple of minutes of free farm really for your entire team. We saw right there very good vision control from the AV lineup. Spotted the fact that Ryoma was trying to help Swiper out. Pabu kiting away nicely. However, Chiefs in the bottom lane with Galio in the top lane.
Yeah, interesting choice out of AV here. Because Pabu doesn't have the TP, they don't want to commit him to the top side, and Chiefs obviously just see him, and they're like, look, we're just going to 5-stack the lane with the Gnar, with their Fed member. We don't want him splitting in the side lane.
Yeah, and can they keep going? I mean, this is still a Baron up creep, and you can see that's a big ram. Doesn't hit anyone, but if it gets the turret, you argue that is enough. However, recall has been completed right now from Frey, so potentially they can look for the invade. No flash available for Fantix. Maybe be able to get on top of him. However, AV, play it calm. Just withdraw.
Swiper recognizes that they have that 8-second recall timer from Frey.
Oh, actually, big ulti, and that's 4-man in the Meganar. However, immediate cleanse jumps out of that one. Great mechanics coming out from Fantix. He's now diving in, and that's going to be the Chiefs absolutely wiping AV. That is a 4-0, and Chiefs just absolutely go nuts.
They had that window. They knew they burnt the ram from Swiper, and it gives them access to the turret. They take that one down before Galio can even react. And AV get a good engage, but just nothing.
Yeah, exactly right. And on the back of 1-1 team fight, it will be the Chiefs taking out the entirety of the base. They'll be taking game 1, and that is a big confidence boost.
Will they pad the stats? That is the question. Here we go. No, they're looking for the Nexus.
Are they?
Great job, everyone. It was pretty slow, but...
Is that really looking for the Nexus?
I mean, they're all hitting the Nexus. They're all hitting the Nexus. The big thing I want to note is Swiper's face over the course of this game. He went from, like, you know, neutral in the beginning, laning 1v1, hasn't died yet. It's been dived 3 times, and he's like, oh my god, like, rubbing his forehead. And then the end of that fight in the bot, like, look, he's trying not to smile here. He's chilly. He's got a big grin on his face now, shaking his head.
What he is saying right now is, I mean, try it again. Like, I'm good enough to withstand it. You didn't get all that much in the end. You didn't crack my inhibitor. I did my job. And in team fights, I was much more useful than what the Gnar was. And you got to say that is correct.
Yeah, and I mean, we did focus on Swiper a lot that game because he was the one getting dived, but we haven't mentioned the likes of Fantix or Ryoma too much. Those two played fantastic that game there. They were doing all the damage. They were the flip side of the coin. Swiper, the reason he was dying was so his other lanes could get pressure. Pabu had a huge lead, but as you said, didn't amount to anything, and Ryoma and Fantix just took over in those fights. They had the tank line there, although Swiper was really far behind, but they already had Babip on the Sejuani as well, so they still had the capacity to win those team fights.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what happens when you dedicate your resources to the one in a 1-4 comp, is if your one wins, looks very clean, the game looks very slow and methodical. If your 4 loses very hard, however, they're very easy to dive. There's not really all that much that can stop them. And I mean, if the supports are switched in that game, like, you're trying to dive a Braum, maybe it gets a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs, with the long-range engage from both Sejuani and Ornn, were just able to safely burn summoners and cooldowns.
And that was Babip's engage at the end of the game as well, though. They didn't have the Ram, so he just flung that ulti out. They get the one pick, and then they just steamroll over the fight. And that basically won them the inhib, won them the game then and there. And as you said, towards the end of the game, it just it was fairly even. Chiefs did have the gold lead because they were trading the 2 for the 1 constantly. Yep. But there was always that wild card of, can Pabu do enough? And then they flick the switch there. They do the Baron, double Earth Drake, get the Baron, and then it's just a huge swing. They get complete control and take over the map.
And then we have to talk about Pabu, because when you itemize so heavily for the 1v1, you kind of force your team in a position where you're like, I mean, even if I have the extra 2,000 gold, they're on a recurve bow and a Vamp Scepter.
Yep.
That's not useful stats in a team fight.
You just have
as soon as you go Mega, you're like, why am I not Mini-Gnar still? Because I can't do anything. So the fact that he got drawn to the team fights just shows the patience of the Chiefs there.
Yeah, and I mean, patience is the name of the game there for AV, and they have to be super patient in that situation. You just have to wait for the Gnar to do things in the side lane, and Chiefs pulled the trigger very quickly, I think. As we mentioned in that last engage, Galio is just recalling. They have 8 seconds to access the inhib turret, and they pull the Ram and they go immediately. And as you said earlier in the game, I don't think Chiefs are that team to be indecisive. They were very decisive that game, and it did win them the game. That decision on the Baron was huge.
Yeah, it certainly was. So the Chiefs are able to pick up game 1 to break that down a little bit further. Let's throw it back to Laura and Carbon.
Thanks, Jake. We're back here to talk about that game. And even though the Chiefs picked that first game up, it wasn't one-sided at all. But something I want to touch on is all of these stopwatches that we're seeing come out.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was actually, I don't know, like, I suppose it's fun in a way to watch, and it's like there's a skill to using stopwatch. But when you watch like literally like 7 stopwatches used in a row, like that was actually just excessive.
Team
that was
fights
actually
are just
so
doubling.
insane. Like they dove 2 towers, and there was like 3 or 4 times where I thought AV was for sure going to turn it around, and then the entire Chief lineup, 1 by 1 stopwatch. That was that was season 8. That's what that was.
Well, talking about Avant, Pabu had a great laning phase against Swiper and kind of was the only hope for the team throughout most of that game.
I mean, he did, but they did invest like a ton of resources up there. Like, Only was constantly topside. You saw for a long time they were sort of diagonally jungling, which is like a Season 7 thing, but we saw it here. And Galio as well. Frey roamed top a few times, sort of seeded a lot of damage on his tower. And I think one of the big consequence from that was, yes, okay, Pabu got ahead and they got first tower, which was really good, but Babip managed to pick up 2 mountain drags at the same time. And having those 2 mountain drags was super crucial when they took that Baron. I mean, they had Azir, Mountain Drake, Tristana, like, it absolutely melted.
And we saw Pabu throwing a lot of penguins at Swiper. Are you a fan of that Gnar skin?
Not really. Like, I sort of am, but I'm also very not at the same time. Like, for me, I definitely prefer, like, the old school skins. Like, it's definitely, like, the uglier it is, the more likely I am to use it. I love the ugly skins. The penguin is a nice touch. Like, the new skins, they are nice. There's, like, super clean and stuff, but, like, I don't know. I just really like the shitty ones.
Was that something that you did in your competitive era? Like, you just always picked the really bad skins?
Pretty much. I like, pretty much every champion that I played, I tried to pick, like, the worst skin, and then I just stuck with that one.
Workshop Nunu.
Yeah, I played Christmas Nunu. I played Christmas Gragas. I played Christmas Nunu, Christmas Gragas. Played, like, the weird chroma, like the blue and white, and, like, the yellow jacket chroma on Lee Sin. I mean, Elise didn't really have any bad skins, but I usually use Death Blossom. Pretty much just every champion I tried to use the worst skin, and my teammates always used to rage at me for making the game ugly, but, like, I don't know, I just really like it.
But nowadays, do you just opt in for normal looking skins?
Yeah, I mean, I just sort of cycle through them now. I don't really care anymore. Like when you're a pro player, like it's sort of like a statement. Like this is my skin. Like
Yeah.
I play with this skin, and I remember like back in the day, like if someone else was like using a skin that I used, like I used like Spaceman Graves, and someone else was using Spaceman Graves, I always get real triggered. And I'd send him a message. I remember Spooks did it one time in an OPL match, and I sent him a message. I said, "Oi, that's my skin. You can't use that." But like, nah, like as soon as you retire, you can't claim a skin anymore, and so now I just play whatever.
Well, recently, Right Oceania ran an art competition for our community, the Summer Splash art competition. And I believe we're going to take a look at some of the winners. In third place, we had Crimson Seal with this postcard take.
It's a lot of skin.
Yeah.
That's a lot of skin.
Lee Sin and they're
It's
ripped.
a revealing
They're ripped.
summer party. They're having a good time, obviously. They wish we were there.
There's some nice sun rays coming from that top left corner, though. Nice little touch.
Yeah, no, it's well put together.
Second place, we have Skiz Anity with Graves cooking up some meat
GP
on
man
the
in the
barbie.
Barbie.
Yeah.
He would
Or
have been
GP,
handy yesterday.
yes.
Yeah, it's GP. Looked like
My
a water
bad.
gun, renekton in the background.
There's Jinx's arm too.
She got the tattoos.
Yep.
You reckon GP makes? You reckon he cooks a good snag?
Yeah. I reckon you cook a good Barbie.
I'd go to GP's Barbie.
I would too. And then in first place, we had Arlie Quinn with this incredibly detailed artwork. Don't
like a
even know
summer
where to
theme?
start. Yes.
Yeah,
Summer
very
Splash.
summery.
Look at all the detail in Nami. All the colours.
Oh, true.
In the tail.
Yeah, that's
Little
crazy. I
crab.
wonder how long do you reckon it takes to make something
Hours
like this?
and hours. Probably like 100 hours more.
100 hours. Gosh darn.
These people are so like dedicated and
It's a long
invested.
time.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Very talented at their craft.
That's like, would you play volleyball versus a mermaid? I feel like that's sort of like I wouldn't do it. That's sort of unfair. You reckon?
Yeah, I guess so. But like, who has the disadvantage?
What do you mean? Like you're playing, like they were playing volleyball in the water. I should specify it was in the water.
Yes.
And like Nami is like a tail,
Yeah.
and like Kane is just like a.
Can she
regular
jump
person.
though in the air with her tail,
What do
like
you
to
mean?
reach up?
Yeah, of
and hit
course.
the ball?
She's
Okay.
got a big
sorry.
giant tail, like a dolphin. Like, can fish jump? What?
Okay.
Have you seen fish?
I'm sorry, Carver. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. We'll be back with game 2 of this series right after this break and highlights.
Everyone else is coming in, and they stall them for long enough. You can see Ultimate coming across, and maybe they've tried to save a lane. Potentially, Babib's going to fall down as well. Stopwatch used. Destiny also. How many stopwatches are there in this game? They're looking to continue to juggle turret aggro. Frey flashes backwards. Another stopwatch goes off. That's going to be Ultimate Flash, and all of a sudden Ryoma slides in, able to pick them up. Pabu, however, on the back side of this, will be able to come in first. Joins with some damage. Nice knock up there out of Big Swift. Jake was there with the Shen ultimate as well, and now the collapse out of Destiny and Fantix is just a little bit quicker. Doesn't get the slow on anyone, however, knock up onto two people, both of the tanks, and you can see now the fight has really started. Meganar on Pabu doesn't choose to TP. Fantix jumping forward, and that is a one Chiefs team fight. And big ulti, and that's 4-man in the Meganar. However, immediate cleanse jumps out of that one. Great mechanics coming out from Fantix. He's now diving in, and that's going to be the Chiefs absolutely wiping AV. That is a 4-0.
Here we go. No, they're looking for the Nexus.
Are they?
Great job, everyone.